All rise. We will obey. The International Criminal Court is now in session. L'audience de la Cour pénale internationale est ouverte. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Thank you very much. Court officer, the case, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Situation in the Republic of Kenya in the case of the prosecutor versus William Samoei Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang, ICC 01090111. And we're in open session, Your Honours.
Thank you. Appearances.
Morning, Your Honours. For the prosecution this morning, Anton Steinberg, Alice Zago, who will be leading this witness, Laura Renton, Yulia Nuzban, and Yasmina Soljanovic, case manager.
Good morning, Your Honours. The same on our side. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honours. The Mr. Ruto team is represented today by myself, Esa Fal. I am assisted by Salini Jairaj, Clara Gerard Rodriguez, and Farah Jamal. Thank you.
All rise. We will obey. Please be seated. We will swap.
We're in open session, Your Honours.
Mr. President, may I, for the record, announce that Mr. Karim Khan has just joined us. QC.
Noted. We have a new witness. Witness, welcome.
Dear.
Mr. Mutai, can you advise whether you gave the witness the Rule 74 legal advice? Rule 74 generally?
I did so, Mr. President.
In particular, you note, of course, that Rule 74 also has direct reference in Rule 74 sub 3C to the provisions of Article 70 and 71 of the Rome Statute. Did you also specifically advise the witness on the provisions of those articles?
I did so, Mr. President. I have explained in detail your ruling.
As well as the provisions of Article 70 and 71, I want to note on the record that you have advised a witness on Articles 70 and 71.
Mr. President, I have explained to the witness the provisions of the Article 70 and Article 71 as it refers to him, and he is fully conversant with your ruling in relation to that, in relation to him.
Thank you very much. Court officer, could you please administer the solemn declaration to the witness?
Ninatamka kwa dhati ya kwamba nitasema ukweli.
I solemnly declare that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you, witness 637. Welcome to the court, and welcome in joining us to do our work. We appreciate your assistance. I will give to you the advice that I always give to every witness who has appeared before us. I begin by letting them know that this is their court. The ICC belongs to each witness who appears before it, in the same way that it belongs to all the lawyers and judges who are in this court doing this case. The reason for giving that advice is to reassure you that there is no need to feel unnecessarily nervous. We want you to feel entirely comfortable for the duration of your stay with us. Do you understand?
Nakuelewa.
Understand.
Yes, it is your court. And in helping us with our work, the way you help is by answering the questions that the lawyers in this case, and occasionally the judges, but more so the lawyers, will be asking you. The first to take turns in asking you questions would be the prosecution lawyers. They will begin questioning you first. When they are done with their questions, I will turn you over to the defense lawyers, who would also have questions for you. From time to time, it may be the case that the lawyer for victims may, if they request permission from us, may also have questions for you. In that case, you would also have the opportunity of taking questions from the victim's lawyer. At the end of all that, the prosecution may have some follow-up questions to ask you. After all said and done. So, it will be lots of questions that will be coming to you from the lawyers. And it is how the lawyers do their work, by asking those questions. And I will strongly urge you to just focus on answering them to the best of your ability and truthfully. Do you understand?
Nakuelewa.
Understand.
I also tell witnesses who come to court to not get too worried about whether or not the questions that the lawyers ask them are fair questions. I want you to know that your job is to focus on each question and answer it. That is your own job. We have our own job here as judges. A part of that job is to make sure that the questions that the lawyers ask you are not unfair. So it is our job to worry about the fairness of the questions to you, but your job is just to concentrate on each question at a time and answer it to the best of your ability, and again, truthfully. Do you understand?
Nakuelewa.
I understand. I've understood you.
You may have already picked this from what I've said so far, but the crucial thing to keep in mind in answering questions is to listen carefully to that question, one at a time. If a question is being asked, listen to it carefully and make sure you understand that question before you begin to answer it. once you understand the question, then you will know whether you have an answer to that question or whether you do not remember anymore, or whether you do not know the answer to the question. But it is important for you to listen to the question, understand it, and then proceed to give us your answer. Do you understand?
Nakusikia.
I understand.
Focus, as always, is on telling the court the truth. In doing that, it becomes difficult to embark upon guesswork. We want you to tell us the truth from what you yourself know. If you don't know, as I said earlier, you can say you don't know. If you don't remember, say you don't remember. If the question is not clear, you can also indicate that you have not understood the question, and then the lawyer who asks you the question will have to repeat the question so that you can understand it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Nasikia.
Understand.
When I say you must eliminate guesswork, it tells us, and that's probably where I should have started, that what we are most interested in is what you yourself perceived by way of facts. What facts you perceived? Is it facts that something you saw yourself or something you heard yourself from the person who is saying it directly, who is concerned? Things like that. We want you to focus on what you yourself perceive as a fact. We do not, we try to not encourage witnesses to tell us, what they heard from somebody said once or twice, repeated by several people. We're interested in what you perceived yourself. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Nakuelewa.
I understand.
Now, in this case, it is important for your answers to be succinct, that is, brief and to the point. We don't want you to, once a question is asked of you, for you to tell a long story in answering that question. A question is asked, then answer that question briefly and to the point, and then stop and wait for the next question. This is very important. Do you understand?
Nakusikia.
Understand.
The court has agreed to give you certain protective measures while you testify. Those measures are measures taken to ensure that your identity is not revealed to the public. Because of that, certain measures will be put in place during your testimony. In fact, certain measures have been put in place. Those measures include distortion of your face, so on the computer screen or television screen, people will not see your face directly. Similarly, your voice as well will be distorted so that people will not be hearing your voice directly. And we're using a pseudonym, 637, as for purposes of your identity while we are testifying. All of that meant to ensure that members of the public do not know that it is you who is testifying. From time to time, we will go into private session. When we go into private session, it means that not even that distorted voice will be heard by members of the public. All of that are measures taken to protect your identity. Now, it becomes very important then for you to heed, as a critical matter, my advice that answer the question, listen carefully, understand the question that has been asked, and answer only that question briefly and to the point. One important reason for that is when we're in the public session in particular, the person who is asking you a question knows the question that she or he has in mind to ask you, and knows that in asking that question, the question should not provoke an answer from you that will reveal your identity. So they ask you the question in public. Now, if you don't answer that question, and you start answering another question, or you say more in your answer to the question than is strictly required, there is a chance that in giving all that extra information that the questioner has not asked for, you may be revealing identifying information. Do you understand?
Nakuelewa.
Understand.
Thank you. Now, there is something also I must stress that you keep in mind when you testify, and that is to help to ensure that your testimony is properly understood by the interpreters and the court reporters who are part of our process, who need to understand what you're saying, who need to hear you clearly in order to record, in order to interpret what you say, and also to record it for the transcript. To assist them in their work, we will need you to speak at a moderate pace. Do not speak too fast, but not too slow either. Just speak at a measured pace to allow the interpreters to interpret your words, and also the court reporters to record your words. There's also another part to it. The interpreters and court reporters can only hear you through the use of their headphones. That means two people should not be speaking at the same time at a microphone. We need to create a gap between the end of the question that the questioner has asked you and the beginning of your answer to that question. That gap helps to ensure that the interpretation is finished for the question that has been asked, and there is no overlapping on the microphone, and then your answer begins. So we need you to observe that gap. We call it a pause. We try to observe it by observing a pause of 5 seconds from the time the last speaker has finished speaking to the time when the next speaker begins to speak. So let's say the prosecutor has finished asking you a question. Even though you understood the question, wait for 5 seconds. Count up to 5 in your mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That will be 5 seconds. Once you've counted 5 seconds in your mind, then you may begin giving that answer you have in mind to give. Do you understand?
Nakuelewa.
I understand.
Good. Now, I have been advised, and you heard Mr. Mutai inform the court that you have been advised that it is an offense under Article 70 of this court's statute for people to, during their testimony, intentionally tell a lie. That is, while you're in court testifying, it is an offense to intentionally tell a lie. Also, it is an offense to intentionally present false or forged evidence in court. Or that is an offense to do any of those things. As well, under Article 71, there are some misconducts that the court will not tolerate before it, and that includes refusing to obey directions from the court. So those sorts of misconducts may result in a range of measures against the witness, and those measures may include imposing a fine. So keep all that in mind while you testify. Do you understand?
Ndio kuelewa.
Yes, I understand.
So with all that now in mind, I will now invite the prosecutor to begin asking you questions. Thank you again, witness, for joining us. Ms. Ago, we're in open session.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, witness.
Sijambo.
Good morning.
We haven't had the opportunity to meet before, but my name is Alicia Zago, and I will be conducting your examination today and in the next days on behalf of the Office of the Prosecution.
Can proceed, Ms. Sego.
I'd like to start by asking you to examine briefly a short document. And for that, I'd like the court officer in Nairobi to please show the witness the PIS, the Protected Information Form, and more specifically, direct the witness at page 6 and 7 of that document.
The PIS is being presented to the witness. Pages 6 and 7.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer. And for the assistance of those like me who do not speak Swahili, the corresponding translation of that document is to be found at page 4 and 5. Now, witness...
Do you want to do this in private session or in closed session? In open session, rather.
I would like the witness to examine, confirm or not whether the information is true and accurate, and if there are details to be elicited in private. With your leave, Mr. President.
All right. Witness, the prosecutor wants you to read through all that information, and if all the information is correct, you can simply say all the information on the document is correct. But if there's any correction to be made, you can indicate, but do not tell us exactly what, and we will make the correction in private session.
Shamaliza.
Finished.
Soma.
I finished from reading it.
Thank you, witness. Do you confirm that the information contained in this document is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Imeandikwa, nimeisoma, nimeona imeandikwa vizuri.
Having read it, I note that it is well written.
Thank you, witness. I take from your answer that you confirm that the information contained there is accurate. Is there an answer to my question?
Ziko ukweli?
Everything's correct.
Thank you, witness. Mr. President, with your leave, I'd like to ask the next set of questions in private session.
A private session. For how long?
I'm afraid it will be 15 to 20 minutes.
Private session then.